Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Late Challenge podcast. I'm Mo, and yes, I'm back. Not from outer space, but actually from America. But I'm very happy to be here once again with Robbo. I'm really pleased that all of you enjoyed the little 2-week dalliance with Kopi. Must have been nice for all of you to kind of be reminded of what the show used to be. But as you all know, time moves on. I wanted to give a shout out to Kopi for coming in and stepping in, and particularly for the way that he spoke about mental health stuff. I think it's something that's really, really important for this show and for all of us, and it will always be a part of this show as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, have you missed me?
Yeah, man. I'm keen to know how America was, and let me know. Tell us about it. What were the highlights, the lowlights? Did it work? Was it good? Did you meet town people? Did you eat anything good? Drink anything good? Where was good?
So I can answer yes to all of those questions.
Excellent.
I've got a little bit of gardening here. A scarf courtesy of the Brooklyn.
Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to play favourites. I enjoyed my time at Boston. I'm actually wearing the Boston shirt underneath here just so I'm not playing favourites. And obviously, I love Philadelphia. But I must admit, my time in Brooklyn was fantastic. Like, I really always wanted to go there and explore, and it was boss. And I loved the fact that I could just walk around and people would just chat to you. Like, a little bit like here, where you
This
like...
is Boston, is it? Yeah.
No, Brooklyn.
Oh, Brooklyn.
Yeah. People would just chat to you. Like, I was just like, there was a time when I was kind of waiting outside for someone just on the corner. Some guy just came up to me and went, "Hey, man, I like your shirt." And I was like, "Oh, cheers." And it's just like, "Where are you off to?" It's just like, "Oh, I'm just going to see my friend. He's going to an art gallery." And I was just like, "That sounds great. I'll come." But I couldn't come because I had stuff to do. But it was like there was an adventure on every corner in Brooklyn. And that's just what I'm about. And then I went to the end of this main road, Bedford Avenue, which is where lots of things happen. And at the end of the road, there's just a massive park. And like there's like football goals, there's like NFL football goals, there's like a running track around it. It's just people just enjoying all different kinds of sports. And I was just like, have they put this on just for me or something? This is literally exactly what I'm about. So yeah, if you've seen my YouTube video where I do my little highlight bits, that's in there. And I got to DJ in a bar in New York, which like absolute bucket list, and that was loads of fun. I really did enjoy Boston as well. Spent a lot of time in Little Italy, which is just, if you've ever seen like Italy in New York bits or Italy in America bits on TV or in movies, it's exactly like that. Mm-hmm. It's like just lots of little tea shops, lots of like little cannoli spots, and just cool people, cool places. Like, I could not say enough about it. But I brought you something.
Oh, there we go.
Now, this might be a little bit of a lie, because the thing I brought you is not from America. But while I was there, I was watching the show. I was diligently watching, seeing how you guys are getting on, and I found something that you might be interested in.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh,
a packet of slow roasted pork crisps and applesauce.
Are these the ones that we said are meant to be really grim, aren't they?
Yes.
So this is like, I'm pretty sure someone said they taste like sick.
Yep, and stale old meat.
Get in.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So I thought, what better way to re-establish the power?
Kick off with a taste test.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sensation slow roasted pork and applesauce. Some people have described these as the worst crisp of all time. Tastes like sick. I'm going in. Not sure about the smell of it. Questionable bouquet. Oh my fucking God.
Right, I'm only going to have one because I'm not as brave, but...
Fucking hell, believe the hype. They're absolutely shite.
No!
You're like weird, chemically... The scientists who cook up tastes have got that fucking wrong. That does not taste like pork and applesauce. It's like a weird, perfumey, like manufactured plaster heat.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like it's supposed to be eaten. And that's the worst thing you can say about food.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Like, I'm absolutely mainlining coffee here. So,
Christ almighty.
Yeah, so that's more of a present to all of you out there.
I mean, I kind of thought, like, they're not, how bad can they be?
Well, this is what I thought.
I literally like most crisps, as we've discussed over the years on here.
But I guess there's an exception to every rule.
And you know what? What's funny about that? I nearly did the crisp thing yesterday. So, like, I got a big shopping, which I never do on a Sunday, but I just had, just the way my week had fell, I had some time. So I was like, I'll get it in today so that I'm not going after this show. And there's a new What's It. There's a cheese toasty What's It.
What?
And I was like, who?
Okay.
And I thought, should I get them in and we'll taste test them? And then I thought, well, I'm trying to be good, aren't I? I'm trying to, like, lose a bit. Well, I'm not going to I'm not going to gain any fucking eating them because I'm not eating them.
No, those two crisps will not kind of work against you. Don't worry. But it's funny because I was on Twitter actually, and I saw our good friend Mike Kearney talking about McCoy's chip shot curry sauce flavor. McCoy's. Have you had them before?
Very good.
Okay, so
very good.
I'm
get involved.
In those. All right, okay. So that's something I'll get into independently. But well, at least we've proved one theory. So,
yeah. Don't get them.
No,
get the McCoy's.
Don't get them.
Get the McCoy's.
They were actually on special. They were on sale in the Tesco that I went into. Well, that's why I thought, oh, this sounds like serendipity. They're on sale. I'll go and get them.
Yeah, can't fucking get rid of them.
See why they're on sale. Do not buy them. Like, I'm sure that at some point in the future, Walkers might want to sponsor the show, and they'll come back to this and be like, "Hey, what you said about that?" I'm sorry, Walkers. They're just shit. Do better. Anyway, speaking of doing better, we have got so much to get through on this show. We're going to be talking about the derby, obviously. We're going to be talking about the fact we've had a break and the benefits of having a break. We're going to be talking about tiredness. We're going to be talking about doing trophy parades in the middle of the season. We're going to be talking maybe about a certain right back from West Derby at some point. Who knows? But yes, I think we should probably start with a little bit more from my trip in America. And the main thing I wanted to talk to you about was I went to see an MLS game for the very first time after you'd spoken about non-league day and the way, like, getting outside of the main corporate spell of football and going to find other ways of enjoying it. And yes, you can say that MLS has its corporate side to it, but Philadelphia is Philadelphia, and Philadelphia sports fans are a different breed. And I was chatting to these people, the Sons of Ben Supporters Club, and honestly, I can't. I'm definitely going to take you down there to meet them because they just get it. It's not always just about, we're going here to support this because this is our local team, but there's a passion for the game. They're so knowledgeable about the game. I was chatting to 4 or 5 of them, and one of them was saying about how his son was having to correct him on some of the laws, like, because he thought that offside rule was one thing, and it's like, oh no, Dad, it's changed, and all this kind of stuff, and he was being really embarrassed about it. But my favourite thing about what they told me was they had a supporters club before they had a football team in Philadelphia. So while they were still trying, like, there was a point when the MLS were kind of expanding, and there were like different cities that were kind of bidding to have a team. And Philadelphia didn't have one yet, but their supporters group started up as a supporters group and decided that they were going to go to all the other local cities that already had teams and just boo them. So, so they went to see like New England Revolution against New York City, and they just booed both teams. But it was just like, no, they wanted to start the rivalry before they even had a team.
I'm into it. I'm here for that.
That's just the coolest thing ever.
I'm coming next time.
Yeah, absolutely, I'm coming. So yeah, shout out to the Sons of Ben. Shout out to Philadelphia Union. And since we're talking about rivalry, and since we're talking about booing, feels like a good intro to go into the derby, really, doesn't it?
But hang on, before you just move on though, what level of Rocky memorabilia was there?
See, I forgot you were mad on your Rocky, weren't you? So
can you buy the steps?
You can't buy the steps. No.
Never,
You can buy like a mini statue of, like, the pose.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can buy the shorts. Like, I think you can buy the grey hoodie as well.
Can you buy a squashy Rocky stress toy?
I didn't see one, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I arm myself with them, you see.
Oh, really?
So at the moment, I've got a squashy gorilla in my car. So, like, if I'm stuck at the lights or whatever, just have a little squeeze of the gorilla to control the rage. So if there's a squashy Rocky, I'd go especially for that.
Well, so I am going back to Philadelphia for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I can do some more investigating for
Excellent.
you. And if you're in Philadelphia and you're a watcher of the show, please, if you do know of any Rocky gear for this fella, please let us know and we will find it and
I think I've talked about it before, pure tangent, but yeah, here we are. One of the best things I've ever seen in my life that I didn't get, but I still want, but now they're like rare until you have to pay a bit for them. Someone somewhere invented these, like, you know, such and such in your pocket. So essentially it was like a character and it was a key ring and it had like 6 little buttons and it'd say phrases. Yeah. Now the one I always wanted was Mr. T.
I was just going to say that.
Fucking brilliant. Honestly, like you can find videos of it on the internet. That, like, you know, once upon a time they're probably about a £5 or something. Now they're like 70 quid or maybe even more because you can't get them anymore. But it's like, you know, you press up that button and it's like, shut up, fool.
I get on no plane.
all of that. And I absolutely loved Mr. T growing up. Like, what a fella. So I always wanted one of them. But that was another thing I thought about. Like, is there a Rocky one of them?
You know what? There probably was at one point. Like, I don't know, just locked in the back of someone's
like I just
cupboard.
picture, probably wrongly, that in Philadelphia, like, everything's about Rocky.
So I don't know if you heard there's a team called the Eagles.
Yeah,
I've heard of them
fellas.
Yeah, they're kind of dominating Philadelphia at the moment. Like,
and imagine as well if you're like born and bred there, like you're a bit sick of hearing about Rocky.
Well, I mean, okay, so
watching all these dickheads run up steps.
I mean, but are all people from Liverpool sick of talking about the Beatles? Not all of them.
I'm not.
No, I would say it's probably about, well, maybe not 50-50, but like 65-35 maybe. There's still a significant amount of people who love talking about them and love going on about them. So there'll be loads of Philly people who still talk about Rocky. Don't worry, I'll find you some.
Dean Welsh tells us, by the way, that I'm not alone in squeezing my gorilla in public. which is
whatever good. You do in the safety of your own car, Dean, it's all good. We won't judge you here. Right. We should probably talk about Derby now. I know there's going to be people in the comments going, this is the time they start talking about football. So here you are. We're going to talk about football. The 246th Merseyside Derby is happening on Wednesday. And as if this fixture needed any more spice, as if we needed any more desire to beat the Blues, then recent events have certainly provided them. I think it's fair to say. Not only the 2 emotionally heavy defeats just before the break against PSV and against Newcastle, but there's what happened in the last time we played them at Goodison Park, which I think time has kind of calmed me down a little bit. But I know that as soon as we get into the real Derby-ness of it and it all comes flooding back, it's going to be difficult. But one thing you can say, they're not going to be lacking motivation, are they?
No. I mean, look, the way we conceded that goal was obviously really annoying. And then there's the beef afterwards. You know, whether, you know, Evertonians obviously will continue to justify everything that went on. And you know, I get that because everyone does that about the clubs, or a lot of people do that about the clubs. So whatever, I'm not really interested in all that. But yeah, you're right. They will have been, you know, really, really frustrated how it turned out. They will want to put that right. Then they've got all the, you know, the beginnings of people beginning to write us off, which is weird because, you know, we've only lost 1 game all season in the league. We're 22 games unbeaten. We're the best team in the league. We've got the best home record, blah, 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 blah. And yet, you know, you've got these people who want to be somehow taken seriously going, oh, well, they've lost the last 2 and all this. And you're like, well, one was on a penalty shootout and the second one was Newcastle's best performance in 70 years or whatever. Yeah. So, you know, we're all right. We're still a good side. But, you know, equally, I'm sure that, you know, they'll use that, do you know what I mean? Like, I think on last week's show we were saying, you know, you can imagine like Virgil coming back into the dressing room, or, you know, when they first come back together and go, right, lads, come on, we get this done now. We put it to bed. We get the title won. There's no distractions. There's no excuses. There's no other competitions even. We're getting it done, and it starts with the derby. And yet Wednesday night, under the lights, after a 17-day break, we'll be up for it surely. You know, like there's, you know, the age-old discussion, ever-circling discussion about atmosphere. I can't see that people aren't up for a game like that when there's a title on the horizon and all the rest of it. So, and then, you've got obviously all the Everton aspect. And look, you know, I was trying to think about that today. And look, it's very difficult for me to put myself in the shoes of an Evertonian because I'm quite clearly not one. But I was thinking, you know, it feels like a nicer place. You know what I mean? If I do try and have a think about it, you know, the 9 games unbeaten, they had a previous manager who was absolutely toxic, inside and out, seemed to be hated basically, and then he's gone on now he's on the radio giving it beans, telling everyone that he did a great job and all this with a big smile on his face. No doubt that's winding him up as well, but like Moyes has obviously turned it round. He's got them safe, and I was on the overlap before the Savvy. I know I was maybe going to mention it there. It didn't come up, so I didn't, but I'll mention it here instead, because it's just weird. I kind of saying that, I don't know whether I like him, but there's something, I don't know, there's something like more all right about David Moyes.
He's a different man, isn't he? So like, you know, sometimes when you're at school and you got a teacher and he just seems like a really moody bastard all the time, and you can't work out what it is, and then suddenly he's either got divorced or he's got a new bird and something in his life has changed. And suddenly, he's just a lot cooler version of himself. And you're kind of looking at him, you're like, what's happened to you? I feel like
that's what he's like. And he's like, he seems lighter, you know, not as bitter, not, you know, better with the media and stuff like that. I think the one that did it for me, to be honest, was like, you know, sometimes I'll put matches on, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Like, if it's something I'm not really interested on, the match is on, but I'm sort of like doing other things, and, you know, I'll perk up when something's happened type of thing. And I think Everton were playing, whacked it on, and it was like it was an 8 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday night, which was a bit weird. And
the Wolves game?
Yeah, so they asked him about that. They asked him about the kickoff, saying, bit of a strange kickoff time, David, and all that. And he went, yeah, I'm normally a bottle deep wine right now. And I was like, it's right. Yeah. I like genuinely laughed at it and thought, see, that's what I mean. Like, you know, and so I just imagine that. So I imagine, you know, this Everton world, Finch Farm, whatever, where it's just a better place.
Yeah.
You know, the players maybe enjoying the football a little bit more, him feeling like a fresh voice after clearly they didn't like Dyche and it became untenable, toxic and all the rest of it. So, but all of that said, I got to the end of that thought train and went, but he's never won at Anfield.
No.
Either as Everton, Man United or West Ham manager.
Or Sunderland.
He's only beaten Liverpool in 43 games 6 times. I think 4 as Everton, 2 as Man United. No, 4 as Everton, 1 as Man United, 1 as West Ham, I think it might be. And he's just generally always seemed to have had this weird thing, hasn't he? When he plays certain sides, you know, he's got a bit of a hoodoo with Chelsea as well, I think it is.
So I've got the full stats here.
Oh yeah, go on.
Right. So David Moyes' record on the road against the big 6 opponents in his managerial career: 110, drawn 27, lost 76. And within that, there was a period where if you take City and Tottenham out of it and it becomes just the big 4, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, he went 72 games on the road without a win. And that's across West Ham, Everton and Man United. 72 games. Now, if you think about different teams, different players on both sides, different eras, and yet he still couldn't crack that code. Think about how it felt being him, turning up to one of those. Because, like, he will have been told before every single game, every single press conference. I know what it's like now. I'm in those press conferences myself. If you've got a stat like that, you're going to say it.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, so, David, it's been 8 years now since you last won one of these. What is the difference? What is the key? And then he'll be like, oh, well, it's not about me. It's about the players. And, you know, sometimes you just need a bit of luck and blah, blah, blah. And then, so, David, you got beat 4-0 then. How did that feel? Not very good. Thank you. And then he goes into the next one. And then it happens again and again and again. 72 times. Like, there's no way that as a human man, even this more relaxed divorced dad version of David Moyes, there's no way he's thinking, I fucking hope they're not going to ask me about that again. And they are.
Of course they are, yeah. And you know, they will, you know, it will come up about his derby record, of course, and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, there's a general Everton thing as well, isn't there, about, you know, they make everything about us, or a lot of them make everything about us weird. You know what I mean? So, like, it's like they make coming to Anfield weird. They, you know, I just don't get, like, you know, I'm sure some people would level it at me, but sort of like defining your support by hating someone else more than seemingly supporting your own club is a bit mad. And I kind of think that adds into it, and it all just adds this weird, like, I don't know, they come into it going, well, we'll just take a draw because, it's Anfield. And look, they haven't won there, have they? No. They haven't won there with fans in since 1999, Kevin Campbell and all that. And then obviously they did win there in 2021, but it was a COVID game, and it was the most Everton thing ever because the time that they do win at Liverpool Football Club at Anfield for the first time in 22 years, there's none of them there because it was COVID. So it's like, I get it. But equally, I don't know. It feels like they could be more moist, be lighter about it all.
I'm interested to see
this about everything.
I'm interested in this because I feel like that has started to happen. First of all, rest in peace, Kevin Campbell. Absolutely,
legend, boss fella.
It feels like that's happening. So obviously, I've been to Goodison a few times, and I've seen the atmosphere change. And if you think about most of the things that they've been dealing with over the last 3 or 4 years, like say Daesh, even with Frank Lampard, even going back to Rafa, it was the arguments with the owners, the arguments with the board, all of the arguments with the Premier League about money. So most of that seems to have changed now. Like, they're not being charged anymore for any of their financial gear. They've got potentially new owners who are going to come in. They've got the new stadium. They've got a manager they like. They've got results. Like, if you're Everton, they're not going to get relegated. We should probably add that in. If you're Everton, there has never been a time like this where you can have just embrace the positivity about what you are doing without, as you say, defining it by what we are or aren't. So I'm going to be fascinated to see how they approach this game because,
I mean, they've got half of their attack missing though, haven't they?
Yeah.
So there's that.
There is that. We should mention that. Like, so Iliman Ndiaye, Calvert-Lewin.
And I like that Ndiaye. I think it's good.
I think
I'm made up he's not playing.
I think he's possibly their best player. And Dwight McNeil as well, who did very well for Daesh, even though I'm not sure
he can turn it on.
He's got quality in him. And yes, I mean, we saw what Beto can sometimes do in the Goodison game, and I like Carlos Alcaraz. I thought he was decent at Southampton, so I thought he was a good buy to bring him in. But if you look into the stats, scoring goals is still a bit of an issue for them. They aren't one of the highest scoring teams in the Premier League. They've scored, I think it's 32 goals they've scored, although 17 of those have come in the last 9 games. So they are getting better at it, but they have failed to score 12 times in the league this season.
And almost half the goals are from set pieces.
Yes. Well, there's that as well. So we need to do better than that.
Be great if we don't put McAllister on the big lad.
Like, if there's one thing that we can hopefully will come out of that League Cup final, and genuinely, I'm tempted to ask Arne Slot about it tomorrow morning in the press conference.
Good luck with that. That might be where you fall out.
Can we give Mac another job? In fact, can we give him a job of, like, standing on the halfway line of corners, like, not marking big people? Please, let's not do that again. But the reality is that, like, if we go through all of the stats, we've mentioned a few of them, but, like, Liverpool won the last 7 derbies in front of fans. We're not talking about the COVID fever dream game, including the last 3 by a 2-0 scoreline. That fever dream one I just mentioned is the only victory amongst 27 visits to Anfield this century. Liverpool are currently on 99 derby wins. Would be very nice time to get that 100 up. Liverpool have the best record at home in the Premier League. Won 11, drawn 2, lost just the 1. Conceded 11 goals in 14 games. Mm-hmm. Everton have the 16th best away record. It's not good. Won 3, lost 5. Scored 11 goals in 14 games. Liverpool kept 12 clean sheets in the Premier League. And as I mentioned, Everton have failed to score 12 times in the Premier League. So you can look at it and say Everton are in good form at the moment. They've not been as good as this all season long. But the reality is, even with Liverpool's injury issues at right back, you can go through both teams, 1 to 11, from goalkeeper all the way to centre forward, and you'll say that the Liverpool player is better. So Liverpool, with all things being equal, should
we should have won at Goodison. I mean, we didn't even play well at Goodison. And, like, they're obviously soft goals. There's still no, you let it go. I think that's a foul, lads, as well. But despite all that, we should have won.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So despite not playing well and not really turning up and allowing them to sort of, bully us for a big section of the game, we still should have won without playing well. So I don't know. I kind of think with all the stuff that got mentioned earlier, as in they'll still be pissed off from the last game, that they'll surely be highly motivated now to get the league done, that they're bouncing back after 17 days away and all that. So you've got that sort of freshness again, even if it might not be freshness in the legs, given some of the minutes some of the lads have played on international duty.
Yes.
It might be just freshness in terms of we're all back together again after a couple of weeks away. I feel like that about going the match, and I'm just a fan, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's been nice to have a little break.
I think
but
so.
Now I'm like rearing to go again. My mates were all saying the same thing. Everyone's doing that. A little cheeky pint before the. It's one of those type of games for us. And I know they don't have a cheeky pint, but you know what I mean? I kind of feel like they will be fired. They should be fired up anyway, because it's a game at home and all the rest of it. Then it's a derby. Then you've got the title thing to throw in on top. Then you've got the, all the Doubting Thomases and the rhetoric that's around the club at the moment. I'd be absolutely shocked if they're not bang up for it and coming out the straps.
Me too. And it's funny, I saw Craig, our good friend Craig Hannon, say something this morning where he said that he's not looking at this as a game against Everton. He's looking at this as a home game to win the league.
Yeah.
And so he's thinking that beyond Everton's, like, Everton really don't matter in this, because it's just a team in blue that we need to go out there and beat. And I feel like for the players, that probably will be the same as well.
Yeah, because it's right, it's spot on that. It's not the derby. It is the derby, but it's not the derby. It's a step towards winning the league for the 20th time, a step towards winning the league for the first time, where we can celebrate it properly in our lifetimes as adults, etc. All of those things are well more important than just bragging rights for beating Everton, which we've done plenty of times over the years. So that's not to take it lightly. We've already just given them loads of credit, etc. and so on. But I kind of think, surely we've got too much. Surely it'll be a good atmosphere, a positive atmosphere. I'm hoping for the ball, they hardly touch the ball type of midweek derby, please. Yeah. But who knows? We shall see what happens. Why we've been on, by the way, have you noticed that? I don't know if we should do it. I mean, I know you've got a section in the agenda to do it. I'm just really intrigued. I've been trying to sort of watch it on subtitles out the corner of my eye. Rio Ferdinand has done a message to Liverpool fans about Trent.
Oh my Lord. No, I don't think I'm ready for that.
I don't think I am, because without even watching it, I think he's the worst fella to be anywhere near any broadcast of Liverpool games, because his bias is so bad.
Yeah.
And I know some people say the same thing, fans of other clubs might say the same about Carragher or whatever, but genuinely, I don't see it. Like, he's terrible. He's like urging other teams to score. Some of the stuff TNT have done around Liverpool games with him involved, I've just been like, is this for real? Feels like a fan channel. And so he's now decided to sit down and do a Rio Presents about Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm going to guess that every word of whatever he said is wrong. and
wrong in every way.
Every word is a million miles away from the culture of this club and the culture of our fans. Because, mate, who are you to tell us how to react to something?
Yeah.
Like, do one. You didn't play for this club. We hated you when you were playing for rivals. You're a bit of a knob on broadcast as well now. Nah. But, I don't know. Honestly, like, the sort of the football world of media, if you like, just drives me to distraction. And it's like, stuff like that. Like, I genuinely don't get, like, people who must go into an office or in the WhatsApp groups, whatever, when they're planning their content, they must literally plan to go, okay, if I do this
is going to piss all these people off.
This will piss all them off, and so that'll get loads of clicks. That'll go viral, and all that stuff. And I genuinely think there's some people out there, without naming names and throwing anyone under the bus, who do that as well. I'm not just talking about Ferdinand here. I'm talking about, like, YouTubers, content makers or whatever, where they go, I'll get myself out there quick saying this. I'll call the player names. I'll have a really extreme opinion. Like I got asked to do something about Trent, and my opinion, I don't think might not be everyone else's, and it's fine to have any opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anyone what they have to think. But I'm quite calm about it. Is my point. I'm not like raging, and because I didn't give rage to the particular broadcaster who asked me to do something, I wondered, was that not really what they wanted?
That wasn't what they wanted, no.
But tough, it's not my opinion, so I'm not going to give you that.
Well, this is the point, though, isn't it? It's the fact that, like you say, because it's so much of it seems manufactured, it becomes a point where, are you saying this just for this, or do you really believe this? And more often than not, the answer is no. Not with Rio, because I really do think a lot of the time he does believe half the stuff he says, which makes it even worse. By the way, unconfirmed rumours that Rio Ferdinand was a childhood Liverpool fan, by the way. Something that he keeps under wraps. I just thought I'd mention. And also, while we're on the subject, Rio, I would love to know what Leeds United and West Ham fans feel about this open letter that you're giving to them, about how they feel about how you left them. But...
Indeed.
Yes, indeed. I suppose we can kind of do the Trent stuff now, really, because... we need to talk about it at some point, in as much as it would be remiss of us to not mention it at all. I know the big news dropped on Tuesday, so it was just after the last show. And I know that we've had 6 days of talking about it, so there's a fair few of you out there who are probably sick to death about talking about it. But I do also feel like there's going to be some people out there who want to know our takes on it. And unsurprisingly enough, for a change, you and I seem very much on the same page here, where it's like, it's sad because he's a very good footballer, and it's a shame that we're not going to get all of his career, potentially even the prime of his career. But at the same time, I don't think that it's something where it's criminal. Like he's been called, snakes, rats, other unfashionable animals, all that kind of stuff.
Judas, traitor, blah, blah, blah. And
I feel like a lot of people are keying into some of his previous comments about wanting to be captain, wanting to be a one-club man, and all those kind of things. And what I would say to all those people is go back into a time machine, go back to when you were 22 years old, find everything you said, and tell me how much of it you still stand by. Because... you know what? People change their minds. Life happens and things change. So I don't blame him for anything like that. I don't know enough about how we got to here in terms of whether he was offered a contract before, whether he turned it down, at what point Real Madrid got involved, at what point were they talking to his brother who's an agent, all of those things. We don't know. We're just speculating. So based on what we do know, it's a shame. But everything that he did on the football pitch, from his debut to the last time he played, I'm not changing my opinion on any of that based on this. I'm still very pleased that Trent Alexander-Arnold has been a Liverpool player.
He's part of a team, and a very significant part of a team that won the first title for 30 years. He's part of a team and a very significant part of a team who won the 6th European Cup for Liverpool Football Club. So therefore, he's got a place in history, and he always will have. A very good player, a lad from the city, a lad who lived our dream, a lad who come through, and played 20 years for Liverpool, from a 6-year-old to now. And then, in all likelihood, it looks like he's going to go. I would say, by the way, it's been an international break, which is a slow news day, if you like.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, someone from TalkSport decides he's definitely going to Real Madrid. Just a little chin stroke at that, because I'm still yet to see where someone actually confirms all this. It's been this massive shitstorm without anyone actually saying anything. But
And that happens a lot.
I'm aware people can brief people and all the rest of it. Not everything's on the record and all the rest of it. But I just kind of think, are we all going a bit early on this? But also as well, it's the longest goodbye played out, for weeks, months, and everything else. Like, it's no surprise that he's going to go if he does go, because that's what we all thought anyway. So again, I don't I don't feel any anger because I've known he was going anyway. And look, it's not ideal to get no money back for him, but we didn't pay any money for him in the first place. And I just kind of think anyone in any profession, in any field, and some people say, oh, you shouldn't compare football to any other professional field because it's different. And I get it, and I'm emotional about it as well. But if someone gives 20 years of their life to something, in my book, they're allowed to go somewhere else. Yeah. And like, I kind of don't get what scenario out of any of this would have pleased some people.
No, and this is the thing.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how does he go?
Yeah.
Like, if he wants to go, surely he's allowed to go. Other players who played for Liverpool have decided that they wanted to have another challenge. Kevin Keegan, Ian Rush, Graham Souness, whatever, whoever and whenever. You choose who you want to compare it to. But I just don't get the, like, I get, like, I've made the point myself, and I thought about it, about, like, when you're growing up, when you're a kid, you're right to draw parallels to when we're younger, and you're like, your absolute dream is, I wish I was that good at footy, and then I wish I was so good that I could play for Liverpool, and then if I did play for Liverpool, that would be my dream, and I'd just play for them forever, and I'd win everything, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then what about the reality of when you live it, though? What's it actually like? What's it like going to the same place for 20 years, and then go, and like, and do you ever think, as a sportsman, because we're all wired differently as well, worth mentioning, some people like want to challenge themselves. Some people think, I've only got one go at this. And if he sees that over there as being another challenge, a different challenge, which it will be, and it's a different league and all the rest of it, I'm sad, like you said, I'm sad about it, and I wish he was seeing out his career with Liverpool, and I think it is great and is romantic and is different when a Scouse lad plays for Liverpool. It's brilliant, it's good. But equally, I just can't, I haven't got the anger in me about it to present anger now, because it's not there. Like, and like I say, I think some of it, every aspect of every argument has some kind of nuance that I'm not seeing enough of. So, like, even if you say, oh, well, the club should have X and Y, what should the club have done? Because if he was determined, when he signed for 4 years, if he was determined, maybe he knew then, this is my last Liverpool contract. Maybe he said then, we don't know.
No,
we're all drawing pictures and joining dots. But if indeed he did say at the start, the middle, or even the end, whatever, at any point, what could the club do? What they could have tried to sell him while he still had 2 years, and how would that have gone down?
Well, very, very true. Very true.
And would Madrid be interested if they had to pay 70 or 80 million? No. Or are they doing exactly what they did with Alaba, as an example, who left Bayern Munich after running down his contract? Yes. They were all very unhappy about that. Big players leave clubs for fuck all. It's happened. Messi left Barcelona, and I know there were slightly different circumstances with the finances, etc. Mbappe left PSG for nothing, ran down his contract, knew he was going to Madrid. Yes. Here we are again. It's almost like they've got a bit of a raison d'etre around doing that.
And it's almost if that they know that they can do it because they are the club that every footballer wants to go to. And we, as fans or pundits or journalists, can say, well, they're not that much bigger than this other club, and we're as big as they can be, and etc. etc. The players see it differently. And I think the other thing you've got to remember about Real Madrid, because people will often talk about it's only the South Americans who have the pull to Real Madrid and Barcelona. It's not. If you listen to all of this generation of footballers, the English footballers, and ask them who they grew up watching, a lot of them will say Brazilian Ronaldo, or a lot of them will talk about Messi, or talk about players who played for Real Madrid and Barcelona. Like, Trent's talked about wanting to be the best player in the world ever. Like, that's part of his goals as being a footballer. And if you currently look at everybody who's in the argument to be the greatest footballer ever, how many of them didn't play for either Real Madrid or Barcelona? Very, very few. I can think maybe 2 or 3. So if that's where your career is leading, then that's what you're going to want to think. You mentioned about what he could have done differently. And I do think that's a really fascinating thing, because we've seen lots of people talk about players who left the club with lots of joy and happiness. And so Firmino has been brought up quite a few times. But guys, you have to understand it's a very different situation. Firmino was no longer in the first team at Liverpool. He basically decided that he didn't want to be sitting on the bench anymore, and that he'd given everything. And he was in his 30s, and he was coming to the end of his career. And so he was like, you know what? I love this place, but it's time for me to move on. And everyone was like, Bobby, we love you. You've given your all for us. We're happy to see you walk off into the sunset. And that's just a very different thing. I'm just really fascinated by the reaction to players leaving clubs in general and how we always seem to think that there is some perfect way of doing it. I don't think there is a perfect way of doing it.
And also, this sort of like, sunshine and roses world in and around football is just not real. It's not a thing. Like, guess what, everyone? Even Liverpool do things that, other clubs don't like.
Yeah.
So like Virgil van Dijk, we all love him, brilliant player, one of, if not the best defender to play for the club, etc. and so on. Let's remember that Southampton were reporting Liverpool and then back down in the end, obviously, in a certain circumstances, blah, 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 blah. But, go back further, Christian Ziege, or go to Harvey Elliott, Fulham, we're not about, how we got hold of it.
Danny Ings.
Like, exactly. So, we've done the food chain thing ourselves before. And, this goes on in football. I mean, whether we like it or not.
You can say that we're going to be trying to do it again this summer with Newcastle, but we'll get onto that in a minute.
But I don't know. I think I've become, as time's gone on, just colder about football. So I still love it, and I still love going, and I still love the social aspect, and I still love watching matches and all of those things. But the more sort of like I say, almost sunshine and roses stuff, no, it's not for me. And I find myself not as emotionally attached anymore to players than I once was.
Not to players, no.
Because I just think, in all, like the club will use them, they will use the club. We've seen examples of both. So, like I can remember doing interviews with players, doing the rap, etc. and hearing stories like things like, you can just be on holiday and like the club ring you up and go, you're being sold.
Yeah.
And everyone's just fine with that.
Yeah. Because
the likelihood is the player who was just sold while he was on holiday, wasn't a hero, wasn't good enough, and all the rest of it. I think a lot of the, I think, my opinion, a lot of the anger, the hate, the upset comes from the fact that he's fucking good.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, you got this really talented lad from our city deciding that he fancies the challenge of going to Madrid and playing in La Liga, and we're not getting any money for him, so people are upset about that. And I get that. But like I say, my opinion is, it is what it is. If he really wanted to go, there's not too much the club could have done about it. Even the idea of, and I've seen it in the comments there, right, we should, at 2 years you sell him if you know that he's going. But what if he just goes, I'm not going?
Yeah.
You can't force him to go.
And
there are countless examples at Liverpool, at other clubs, whatever, across football, of players knowing they're going somewhere and just seeing out the contract.
And also, let's actually look at the landscape 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Conor Bradley wasn't a thing. He was still playing for Bolton Wanderers. So the idea that Liverpool would be actively trying to sell Trent Alexander-Arnold would not have been taken very well by the general populace whatsoever. The idea that he would have had people, so what was your price? Because I think that we talk about valuation at some point over the summer when we talk about transfers, but if the likes of Tyler Dibbling and Adam Morton are £100 million footballers, then Trent Alexander-Arnold absolutely is. But then it becomes a post of, well, are Liverpool going to sell him at below the market rate? Absolutely not, they're not. So it becomes a thing that would more likely become something that clouds the football. And think about 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago, it would have been around the time when we were trying to win the quadruple, wouldn't it? So, or is that the season after? Anyway, put it this way. It's nowhere near as simple in hindsight as you believe it should be. Even going back to what you were saying before about when he signed his last contract, that was November 2021. So that was just after COVID had finished. So we'd had a really bad season the season before. No one was sure whether Jurgen was going to continue because it looked like he was sick of football and sick of it all. So can you understand why he would maybe not want to sign for 6 years at that point? It was also the same time.
I'm not being funny. You could say that now as well. Yeah. I'm a Red. I love Liverpool. I want Liverpool to go and go on this huge run now, dominate football, etc. and so on. There's an argument to say they're not going to. like there's a lot of work to be done this summer, and Trent leaving, if he leaves, will be one of the gaps that needs to be filled one way or the other. Whether you decide to go with Connor, but you're looking for creativity elsewhere in another position, whatever it might be, because you're not going to. There isn't another Trent, basically, is there? You're not getting a like for like. What I mean is, there's still lots of, even though we're going to win the league, I think common consensus is we're going to win the league. And then second common consensus is there's loads to be done this summer, and there's loads of stuff up in the air. And again, like Trent might not be wired like all of these people, probably isn't wired like all of these. I get the sense, and again, it's obviously just my opinion, that he's like a big thinker.
Yeah.
And that, he's very, I would guess that he listens to like, or reads like around psychology and all this sort of like being the best version of you type mindset thing. And I think a lot of it will be that. I think, and maybe I'm naive here, I don't know, but I can only tell you what I think. And I think a lot of it's around that. He wants it. He wants this fresh challenge. He wants to push himself. And people have almost mocked the idea about Ballon d'Or and stuff like that. And gone, that's not right. He should be winning something with his club. But again, we're pushing a rule onto him. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm thinking about it as from a fan's perspective, where the team is
you're from Liverpool, so therefore this is the pinnacle, and you should never leave and go anywhere else. You can't really enforce things like that. Like it's up to the individual.
What you were saying about the challenging yourself is fascinating, because think about how he's embraced Arne Slot this season. Because some people will say, oh, well, maybe that's the new challenge. You've got a new team being built. You've got a new manager with new ideas, which everyone's responded well to. But think about the way that Trent has kind of, his relationship with Slot has developed. He's come in saying, I want you to be as harsh on me as possible. I want you to tell me when I'm not doing things right. I want you to give me as much impetus to go out and improve as a footballer as I can possibly get. And the way that Slot has kind of dealt with that is to basically say, okay, well, last season you were this kind of like luxury piece, guy who starts at right back but ends up in midfield, sometimes goes between the centre backs, wherever he wants to find space and play potty passes and paint pictures. For me, you're a right back, which means that if you're a right back, you're part of the defensive unit, which means you're going to be doing some bloody defending. And you know what? If you look at the statistics this year, there's always going to be debate on how good he is as a defender. I'm not getting into that because I think we're all sick of it. But just in terms of defensive actions, how much defending he's having to do, it's night and day. He's doing so much more actual defending. So you can look at it and say, well, that's probably the one thing that he wanted to improve upon. And Slot has been like, yes, I'm going to help you. I'm going to improve you. I'm going to challenge you. But also, what that tells you is that maybe Slot was preparing for the fact that he might not have this special luxury thing anymore, and that his team might actually function better with a quote-unquote normal right back. So the last thing I'm going to say on this, because we have probably spoken about it for like 20 minutes, which we're both probably intended to say like one thing. I don't think, as much Sadzime is leaving, I don't think this is the end of Liverpool. I don't think that necessarily the team is going to be worse. Great player as he is, it might be that Slot has planned to make it better. It could be a Coutinho situation where you take out a very, very good footballer and suddenly the team plays differently and actually gets better.
Yeah, and people won't want to hear it, but like, this is what I mean about sort of, I appreciate this can sound cold, and I am a bit like this about, Premier League football these days for a million and one reasons. Maybe that's another show, but there's 10 million quid being sliced off the wage bill.
Yeah.
So there's a 10 million hole to fill with someone else. Do you know what I mean? And Liverpool have not spent prolifically or much at all for a while. And once upon a time, not that long ago, we're prepared to slap 100 million in for Caicedo, etc. And then you look at the dough, like they are in the Champions League for next season. The dough that you get for being in the Champions League is now ridiculous. There are extra games in the Champions League as well now, of course. So, okay, we're all mourning the fact that we're out of the thing this year, but we made a shit ton of dough.
Yeah.
And we're also likely to do the same again next year, which means you can go and spend money big because, if you bought a player for 100 million quid, you're not pulling 100 million quid out of your arse bin and going, thanks very much, Newcastle or whoever it might be. You're going, sound 30 million a year for the next however many years.
30 quid a year might take a while.
Yeah. Like the fucking great Universal catalogue, that, innit? But yeah, my point being, Liverpool will have money to strengthen. It all of this sort of hurts in the moment, doesn't feel right in the moment. I'm not quite sure I want advice from Rio Ferdinand. I think I'm already over that. I don't think I'll watch it. I looked at some of the comments and I think some people are doing God's work there already. So yeah, I haven't got much more to say on it. It is what it is. Yeah. I would like, and it's not up to me, and people can do what they want. I will keep saying that point, because the idea there's some homogenous action or opinion around any large supporter base is complete bollocks. But I would like and hope that we can keep Anfield fairly positive for the rest of the season, because guess what? We're going to win the league.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those rare times where I'm actually glad that he's not going to be playing in the next game. So we can hopefully win the next game, refocus everyone's minds on the winning of the league. So whenever he does come back, we'll already be on that track and it will be a sideshow that we can all ignore. Okay. Now,
back to crisps that taste like shit.
Well, it's not back to that. Back to food. There was one more Everton flavoured thing that we wanted to talk about that I'd missed, and I cannot believe I missed it. So shout out to the LFC Edmonton Reds Instagram page who alerted me to this. Everton did another test event at the Bramley-Moore Docks Stadium.
This is when you're away, innit? That's why you didn't get onto this.
I did. And they're using blue ketchup on hot dogs in the stadium.
Yeah,
they've tried to avoid red because of obviously the strong association with Liverpool. But my question is it just food colouring that they're putting into ketchup? Does it start red and they have to turn it blue? And how much food colouring does it take to turn something that's red into blue? Because if you were at school and you had your little paint palette out there, then it wouldn't necessarily go straight from red to blue. You'd need to maybe do a few more steps. So is there like a load of purple ketchup out there somewhere that's not being used? and I mean, we were talking before about not defining yourself by other teams. This is it, isn't it? This is exactly the kind of shit we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I saw. I think Mike mentioned it on something. I feel like I did speak about this somewhere, but anyway, I seen someone saying a blue saying it. Oh, the cop ain't so fume about this, and I just thought, no, we'll go. Why? We're not fuming. We're just going. Why is your ketchup blue? Yeah. We talked about it on the subscriber show last week. I remember now because I said. Like if you go in the bogs, have they just got like, two cold taps? Because you know what I mean? Like, look, I get it, and like there are extremes of how people choose to support their football clubs all around. So you got extreme Liverpool supporters, extreme Everton supporters. I'm just kind of surprised the club chooses to go with it, but.
I mean, you can see as a move where they're trying to kind of, curry favour with the fans and say, oh yeah, a bit of a nudge, wink, wink. But genuinely, like, to do that probably would have cost money. Like, because to do that all the way across the stadium would have cost a bit of money. Like, are you not better off just, making the seats a little bit more comfy and just having normal ketchup? Like, I think it's going to be impossible to go through that entire Bramley-Moore Stadium and not see anything red. Like, I've not been there yet. Hopefully we'll get to go there next season. But there's going to be some red there somewhere.
What if someone cuts themselves? Yeah. Yeah, it's just a bit mad, isn't it? I mean, look, there's a small part of me that, is sort of like, there's no real R in it, is there? And, I used to like buy... I've always loved like fanzines, and obviously once upon a time I did make my own well read. But yeah, I used to buy like all the fanzines at one point.
Oh yeah.
You know, like all the clubs and all that, just to have a read, see what was going on. Quite enjoyed it, all of that kind of stuff. And I remember getting like, you know, the Geordie ones, the Sunderland ones, all of that kind of stuff. And obviously, like, there's no love lost between them two. No. But some of the stuff in their fanzines was absolutely brilliant, to be honest with you. And there was a thing about, there was a piece in one of them, I can't even remember which side it was on, but it just always sticks with me because I thought it was brilliant. It was about this kind of stuff. It was about people who take it to like a ridiculous extreme. And it was going on about like, you know, the most extreme things you'd heard. And there was things like Sunderland fans won't eat sugar puffs because the Honey Monster wore the Newcastle kit on an advert once. and then there was there was Newcastle fans who won't eat bacon because it looks like Sunderland's kit. You know, it's and not just bacon, frazzles was thrown in as well.
Oh my
like,
god,
you know,
yeah.
And just stuff like that, brilliant. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, to take it to that extent is something else, isn't it?
Like, there's commitment. And
they got blue cones, haven't they, as well?
Yeah. Okay. Like, I understand the commitment, but surely that's just causing yourself more trouble than it's worth. It really is. And yeah, maybe this is just something that they did for the test event, just for a bit of a laugh. But I mean, come on.
I just realised, by the way, that I haven't done what I normally do, which is probably a little bit rude, and said nice one to people who've thrown in on the super chats.
Let's have time for that now.
Brace DeVille has thrown in $10, says, how about Mo on the wind-up posting on Instagram? Evil genius him. Nice one, as always, lads. And then also we had Johnny Clark just thrown a $5 in there and said, I live in Leeds. Leeds fans won't have anything red because of Man U. So it's not just an Everton thing. No. That is a bit mad, the Mo thing though, isn't it? Like, I mean, I know he loves a bit of social media action, but what are you up to there? Like, the whole world's talking about Trent. Trent's in yours, you and the boys having a bit of a catch-up.
Yeah.
And so you just film it, no sound on it, post that and say nothing. Come on, lad.
My question about that is, did he tell Trent he was going to do that before he did it? Or did he just think, if I just mute it, then they can't have any questions?
Just did it with an evil laugh, like, what have you just done there? Just flashed it on Instagram, like. And I love, like, all the sort of the leaps to conclusions. You know, like, this is a meeting and the boys are, like, trying to persuade them to stay and all this kind of stuff. And it's like...
Didn't he have, like, an Xbox controller in his hand or something? Weren't they just playing Call of Duty or FIFA or something?
They were just all knocking around in the trackies on Mo's comfy couch, weren't they? And who knows? Like, we literally don't know. That's the whole point of it, isn't it? Like, but yeah, nice one, Mom.
Yeah, what I read, Ray Rooney did say something about this today on the BBC, and one thing he said is that, because obviously he was in a similar situation where he'd announced publicly that he was looking to leave, and then didn't leave, and he was like, said what you said previously, like, nothing's been announced yet. And by the way, I certainly don't expect anything to be announced at the press conference tomorrow.
I've just realised, this is another thing I love about football, right? I'm being genuine here. So whatever you say, and especially if you're talking a lot with a microphone in front of your face, I've always said this, you will absolutely contradict yourself. You will absolutely show yourself up as being a hypocrite in some way. And someone's just triggered a memory in the comments, and I'm laughing at myself here for being such an knobber. So Benny has said, I threw my Vodafone in the bin when they became Manx sponsors. And then he's put, seriously. So I rang up Vodafone on the day that was announced, and they were who I had my contract with at the time. And I said, I want you to cancel my contract. And they were like, why? And I said, because you sponsor Man United. And they were like, oh. And I said, I'm a Liverpool fan. I go to Anfield on the regular. I don't want anything out of my money going towards them.
Did you get a better deal then?
I chipped it. They let me leave because they said I wasn't the first to ring.
Wow.
So yeah, I was one of those knobheads, and I would never. I mean, I think I have now got something made by Sharp actually in the house, but I would never have anything by Sharp. You know, all of that. So look, we're all at it, aren't we?
The funny
we're
thing
all
about
at it
that
in one way or another.
The funny thing about that is that when that was announced, I was actually working for Vodafone in Liverpool, in the main store in town.
Did everyone start flocking in?
Yes, there was lots of people.
Get in.
It's like, what are you doing? Like, and the worst thing about it was over the next couple of 6 months to a year and a half, we started getting big posters of Man United players in the Vodafone shirt. Like, there was literally a poster of I think it was Roy Keane actually celebrating in the Vodafone shirt, and it's just like, what are you doing?
I know. I never get that, So, like, I understand, obviously, like, huge organisations where, like Tesco or whatever, and like, at the Tesco in Litherland, to them is just another Tesco. And they just throw the same stock at every store and they crack on. But I've been in Tesco's in Liverpool or in the Liverpool area, and I've gone, like, how many Man United calendars are you selling? You're like, come on, have a little think here. Do you know what I mean? It's not happening, is it? Do you know what I mean? It's not happening. But they are sat there, and then they're reduced, and then the 50p, and you're like, I guess there might be the odd student or something who might buy one, but...
Or someone whose like cousin is a United fan who lives somewhere else.
It just must be more, like, it must be more cost effective to just
not
load
bother
every store with the same
absolutely.
stuff, mustn't it? It must be, I don't know.
Right,
yeah.
So my alarm's buzzing, which means that it's time to get towards the end of the show. But there was one thing I wanted to mention on this free show before we wrap up and move over to the subscriber show. I mean, there's still loads of stuff on my agenda that we haven't got through, so we're going to be having plenty of great discussions over there if you want to come and join us. But I noticed on your Instagram page that was another picture of you smiling at the top of some peak somewhere. You and Gary and Johnny, you've been on your walk-in. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I've been getting back into it all, gearing up to doing Scafell Pike, hopefully end of May, start of June type time. Then hopefully also, don't know if it'll be this year or not yet, but trying to get in the one that I can't pronounce in basically Ireland's biggest mountain. It's in the Kerry area. I've talked about it before. But yeah, we did Wayne. Well, me and one of my mates did Merseyside the other week, which is one of the Yorkshire 3 peaks. So I've now done each one of them individually, and then different setup. Well, somewhat that lad couldn't come to this one, but some of the other lads. But I did both of them. But yeah, we just did Llangollen this weekend. A bit of a circular around there,
nice.
Going up a big hill, and going visiting some little ruins at the top. Castle, Dinas, Brand. I'm completely butchering all their names, obviously, as you'd expect. I'll tell you what was good about that, actually. So it was a 9-mile circular walk around, really nice. So, bit through a forest, bit up a big hill. So we've got a bit of incline action. Come back down the other side, and then the rest's on like a canal, and then leads you back to where you started. And when I got to the end bit, and we were like, oh, there's a pub, let's get a quick pint in there before we go. Walk past some lad, and he shouted back, keep the podcast going, lad. I was like, get in. So that's twice that's happened now. So that's happened in Llangollen, and it happened at the top of Moulfammer as well on a previous occasion.
Fantastic.
So yeah,
the people of Wales.
So it could be the people of Wales, or it could just be Scousers going over to Wales. Because there's absolutely loads of us there wherever you go. But yeah, so yeah, gearing up for them is the plan. I think it's nice to just have like a bit of a sort of walking bucket list, really. Yeah. And so it's well stocked at the moment. We're going to do the next one we're going to do is in April. We're going to do the Old Man of Coniston. That's the next one or that's the plan far. And then gearing up towards, as I say, Scafell Pike, and then hopefully the one in the Republic of Ireland as well.
Fantastic. Well done to you. So the thing that I'm most fascinated about this, because obviously we've spoken on the show before about the positivity of walking and how it really kind of reinvigorates you and stuff like that. And how much of that, how cool is it that you've got this thing that you decided to start doing later in life, but then all of your mates who you've been mates with forever have all kind of gone straight into it as well. They're all like, yeah, I want some of that. And it's something that you can all do together. Like, you've been doing times when you were doing things that probably weren't as good for you, but health-wise, back in when you were younger. And now you've all kind of clubbed together to do this.
It's taken some cajoling, I'm not gonna lie. And I know some of said lads will probably listen to the show, but yeah, I would say there are varying degrees of enthusiasm around all of this. But and look, there are other lads in our group who I've suggested it to them, and they've just gone absolutely fucking not. It's not for me. Then there's another lad who does. I think he also listens, saying he wants to jump on them, but he's just always busy or he's got work or whatever. So we've got. Yeah, like I say, there's varying degrees. I'm into it, and I think there's at least, I would say, one other who's really enthusiastic, and then we go down in levels of enthusiasm from there. I mean, when we did Ben Nevis, I was reminding some of them at the weekend about that. We all finished at different times, but we obviously all met in the pub at the bottom.
Yeah.
And one of the comments when we got into the pub was, "I'm never fucking doing anything like that again." And there's another Gary Doughty will be listening, but I remind him regularly on the walks that on one of the walks we did, which was around Mo Farmer, but we carried on, went up another one, did a big circular round, ended up being about 16-mile walk. We all thought done all the incline bit, and it was just a case of heading for the car, and then there was like a final bit, and we were all
final boss.
We were all and we were all done, and we all didn't want that final bit. And I just remember Gary going, "This is an absolute joke, fucking joke!" Like we're just fucking gone, and it was boss. But like, look, there is a sense of satisfaction to it. Someone's put in the comments there, great for your mental health, and it is. Look, like it really works for me. I mean, I think like sometimes like it's really easy to pinpoint what a problem is or why you feel a certain way. Like if something's happened to you, or that like it's work or something those things you can pinpoint and you can say, I feel like this because of that there. But I'm surely not the only person in the world where I say sometimes I just wake up and I'm just in a bad place and I don't know why, and that's horrible because there isn't an obvious solution to that. There isn't I go and fix this or I go and speak to that person and then that just goes. So what I find is doing stuff like this absolutely clears that. Do you know what I mean? Like it just makes that go away. And not only will it be when I'm actually doing it, it'll be that I know it's coming. So it's something to look forward to. Then there's the doing it, which is great. Then there's the next day, still feel great. And like even, I did that on Saturday and it's Monday and I still feel good. And often I don't feel good on a Monday. So you know what I mean? So it definitely, like it can have a knock-on effect to other days as well. So yeah, would absolutely recommend it. It's dead easy. And you need minimal money and minimal equipment. Obviously, if you're going up hills, etc., I would recommend some waterproofs and a decent pair of boots. Yeah. But there are varying degrees of difficulty as well. I mean, I keep mentioning Mo Farmer. That's in everyone. Everyone can do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not hard. There's different routes on it for however fit you are, and it's a nice up, down. Feel like you've done something. Come home. If you get into it a bit more seriously, you'll find you want something a bit more challenging than Mo Farmer because it's only a hill. But it's nice. It's that sense of achievement. You'll get to the top, have the views, eat something, have a butty, come back down, done something with your day, and you weren't looking at screens.
Fantastic.
Or your phone.
Yeah,
all good stuff for the soul.
Absolutely. And what better way to wrap up this first show than with a bit of positivity, a bit of food for the soul. Thank you all for watching, as always. Hopefully most of you, in fact all of you, will come over to Patreon with us. We've still got plenty to talk about. We're going to be talking about players being tired, minutes on international duty. We're going to be talking about other people doing parades in the middle of the season. We're going to be talking about Liverpool's pre-season tour, and we're going to be talking about so much more than that. So come over. We'll only be there in a few minutes' time. So please do join us.
And if you're not coming over, just click subscribe on the YouTube channel because that bit counts as well.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a few people in the comments here to saying click like on the show. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Also, just click like on the subscribe on the YouTube if you're on here now. So I think we're currently at 12,500. Be nice to see that number go up. It doesn't cost you anything to press it, but it means our videos get seen by more people. So algorithm stuff. We've also told people before as well that when this live show ends, it ends up being on our YouTube channel, if you like. If you comment as well, that helps with the algorithm. So comment, like, and subscribing on YouTube all helps if you can't afford to throw anything in to help us keep the lights on.
Well, we all thank you for all of those things that you do for help, and we'll see you very soon.
Love you, bye.